Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really happy to introduce you to Francia Noble. Francia is an author, professional educator, public speaker, minister, and the owner of the Noble Group. She has spoken to numerous audiences in various venues and on versatile topics. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree, a Master's of Business Administration, and is nearing the final stages of her doctoral degree in organizational psychology. She has just published her first book, Doing Business God's Way. Her passion is being able to encourage and motivate others for change in order to visualize the gifts inside of them and use those gifts towards individual growth and being a blessing to others. Her interactive approach keeps her audience actively engaged and craving for more. Welcome, Francia.
Thank you, Tammy. It is such an awesome delight to be able to spend this time with you this afternoon. I could not think of a better place to be than talking to you right now, so thank you for having me.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I'm really excited because you have such a phenomenal background, and I am really excited about your book, Doing Business God's Way. That is actually a really cool topic. Before we get into the interview, can you give me a little bit more background about who you are and what your mission is?
Absolutely. Who am I? Well, just a Southern girl trying to make a difference in my own life and in the lives of those that I may come across. How do I do that? By encouraging them to live out the best possible life that they can, no matter what that looks like. I spend a lot of my time listening to what it is that people truly are saying in order to help them do that. I'm just a mother of 3 wonderful kids. I call them my brats, but they are my world, they're my everything, and certainly my inspiration for me to become the best possible person that I can be. Brand new author, excited to share what that message is all about in the book, and just an all-around flirty kind of Southern girl. That's who I am.
Oh, that's cool. So tell me a little bit more. What do you think your unique gifts and talents are?
Well, one of the things that I think I've been fortunate enough to be blessed with, and oddly enough, I think growing up as a child when my mother was making sure that we were the social butterflies that we were and participating in all of these programs and extracurricular activities, whether they were in school or at church, I complained about those coming and going. But now I understand that she was actually setting the foundation for me being able to build a relationship with just about anyone. And not just a relationship, but building those lasting relationships, those relationships that forced me as an individual to push beyond my comfort zone, to step outside of my own personal fear, and really to just tap into what it is that makes people want to be themselves and why we've gotten away from doing that and how we've gotten away and how do we get back to doing that. And God bless her soul, she is still the same way today in her own way, pushing me to be the better person, pushing me to be a different person, no matter what that looks like for me. That may not have been her intent, but it certainly has become the intent that is long-lasting for me.
Isn't that funny how when we're young and our mothers and our fathers, they'll tell us to do certain things and we don't understand why. We're just told, you do it.
Exactly, and those were her words. We didn't get, when I was a child, you didn't get asked, well, why am I doing this? You just simply got told, do it. And if you were brave enough to ask why, you were simply told, hey, because I said so. Don't ask me any questions. It's simply because I said so. And we did it. And we did those things with poise and grace and finesse, and that's carried over. Now, of course, as anyone. I've had my ups and downs, and I've strayed away from some of that over the years, but I've always come back to that solid foundation, and I'm happy about that.
So tell me a little bit more about what you do in your daily life and your work to help people.
Professionally, I am a behavioral health person, and I am also a part-time university professor in psychology. And on any other day, because I wear those hats multiple days of the week, and on some days I'm even on every day, actually, I should say that, I'm a licensed minister as well. And my spiritual life plays a huge part in what I do. I used to be afraid to let people know how spiritually in tuned I am, what my faith looked like. But when I started letting those walls come down and showing people who I really was, spiritually, not religiously, because for me personally, those are two different things.
Yes, they are.
Spiritually, absolutely. But that's a debate we'll have to have on another show maybe. But spiritually, when I started releasing all of that and saying, hey, this is who I am, this is the higher power that I believe in, and this is how I walk, how I choose to walk and how I choose to live my life, all of that began to come together. I felt like at one point I was living so many different parts of a life that was me. And when I allowed all of that to come together, here's where I now find myself, a spiritually faith-based, in-tune entrepreneur just seeking to make a difference.
Well, that's really fascinating because I'm on a path, and I actually go to a spiritualist church locally, and the more that I open myself up to that spiritual part of myself, it seems like the more blessings I actually get. And it's very, very interesting. So I'm going to ask you in a little bit, I'm going to ask you to dive into your book a little bit deeper.
Sure.
But before that, what do you think is the biggest lesson or truth that you've learned in your life so far?
You know, and I'm not a political person, but I think with looking at this current presidential campaign, it has certainly, again, driven the message home to me that we are simply all just people. And everyone's looking for love and acceptance in different ways, of course. And at the end of the day, if we have that, I think we can all get along just because we're people. We're human beings. It took me a minute to get there. Certainly, you know, we come into this world thinking, okay, we know it all. Our parents teach us those things. We learn things in school and in college. But I think when you really begin to say, you know what, people are just people. We're all, you know, kind of the same, no matter what we look like, no matter the experiences that we have. At the end of the day, we just want someone to love us and accept us for who we really are. And I think when I learned that lesson, again, things just started to come into place, and I felt the blessings beginning to open up for me. And I'm that person, if I'm fortunate enough to have learned that lesson, that I'm ready to pass it on to someone else, or at least be able to help others find that acceptance. And that acceptance could be starting with yourself, because that's a lesson I had to learn too, to stop trying to be who everyone else thought I should be and simply be me. And I'm a fantastic person, if I do say so myself.
well, that is, it's interesting because I've talked to quite a few people, and that is one of the things that we do have to come to understand is that we can't be anybody but who we are. Mm-mm. And just because somebody else wants us to be a certain way, you know, again, it's like if you're a bubbly personality person and somebody wants you to, you know, be quiet and be seen and not heard, it's going to go against everything you are. And
absolutely,
you're going to rebel against that. Tell me a little bit more about your book. It's Doing Business God's Way, 30 Devotionals for the Entrepreneur. Now, that is a phenomenal, intriguing title, because immediately I'm saying, okay, that means that she has something for 30 days, so that's like a month's worth of something. So what is your book all about?
Well, again, going back to my faith and my spiritual relationship, I had always thought that I should be writing something, and I never knew what that was. And, of course, as I'm sure, most writers, they sit down, they start a book, they put it down, they pick it back up, they start again, and that cycle continues. For some, the cycle ends in a published book, and for others, it never ends. And there were a couple of life-changing events that came about in my life during this process of starting and writing. And I finally sat down one day and I said, I really do need to get this book finished, if for no other reason to say that it's done. Someone may buy it, someone may not buy it. I don't know, but it's going to be done. It's a part of me. And if nothing else, it's a part of me that I can leave for my children, my grandchildren, and so on. And it came about, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I've tried numerous businesses, small scale, medium scale, and just thought how neat it would be. And as I sat down to write, I thought how neat it would be if I brought those two worlds, those two things that I love, together. Because for me, when I look at the Bible, which of course is where the scriptures come from in the book, they talk about actually doing work and what that work looks like. There's a scripture that says early to rise, and all the people came. Well, don't we talk about the early bird gets the worm? Forgive me for using that cliche, but we go to work early. We get up early. Some of us like to work early in the morning when it's quiet, when the house is still. And so I bring together that scripture and talk about what it looks like to be up before the rest of the world is moving, to have that quiet time with your higher power, your inner self, to have that conversation about what the rest of your day may look like, whether that's sitting in front of your computer with your cup of coffee or trying to get the next chapter written or reaching out to potential clients, what that actually looks like, how beneficial that early morning time is. Even if it's the business person who says, you know what, this is my time, I can get to the gym, I can get to the park, I can walk around the neighborhood, or I'm simply going to be up before everyone else to read the paper. If anyone does that anymore, I don't know with all the technology we have. But whatever that early morning time looks like, to take advantage of that quietness. And I hope that I've been able to portray that message in such a way that, the people who've purchased the book and who've become familiar with it are actually at that point where they're taking advantage of that quiet time before the hustle and bustle of the day begins.
I think that's really important because, like you said, that is often the time, the early hours when you do have time. And it's often a very productive time because you don't have as many interruptions. The phone isn't ringing yet. And sometimes you can get more done in the first 3 hours of the day than you get done in the whole rest of the day. And
absolutely.
It's that very powerful time. Well, that sounds like a really phenomenal tool, because that's one of the things I think a book like yours, if you look at the value of something, it kind of helps you to set the tone of your entire day. And I'm sitting here thinking, wow, and you have 30 of those? So every day you can work on kind of something, interesting. And you've, like you said, you tied it to the scriptures. So for people, it gives them that anchor that they can, build that on. So I really think that's really cool. I also wanted to ask you about when people are, looking for their purpose or trying to develop their spiritual talents, how would you suggest they go about it?
I think the easiest way for me, and certainly what I have been able to coach and advise others on, is find what you truly enjoy doing, what you love doing. Not necessarily when you say passionate, people say, oh, I have to have this one thing that I'm passionate about. And I'm like, no, because if that's the case, then I've got about 55 different gifts, but I'm not utilizing all of them. You know, where do you get the most joy from? And where do people see that light in you shining when you're doing whatever that thing is? I spend a lot of time out in the community volunteering. One organization in particular is, of course, a counseling organization that operates on a sliding scale so that behavioral health care is available to anyone who walks in their doors, not just to, the health insured or a person who can pay full price for counseling. And I've met the most wonderful people during the few times that I've had an opportunity to do that. And so whenever there's an opportunity to volunteer, they always reach out to me and, just share with me how excited people are to have me around. And I know it's not me. It's something within me, I hope, that and I don't even know exactly what it is, but that's okay. But it shows. I think when you find your purpose, when you're walking in that purpose, no one even has to know what that purpose is because it shows. It shows in how you interact. It shows in how you're speaking to people, just in the mere conversations that you're having. It shows through your actions. It shows your heart is showing. And I have a big heart, and I'm not afraid to let people see it. And I think we've become so accustomed to putting up a wall around our inner selves and around our hearts that it's difficult for people to figure out what their purpose is. But I say find what you enjoy, find what you love, find what you would feel like your life was missing something if you weren't doing that one thing anymore. And that may be where you find your true purpose. And I'm not meaning just a job, because those come and go in this economy that we have right now. But that one thing or even the two, or even the three, to help you find that one thing that you truly love, that if it were missing, that part of you would feel like was missing also. And I don't know if that answers your question. That's just me.
It's funny because as you were talking, I was thinking about what you were saying about how people enjoy you being around, and it's like what it is, because I can hear it, and where are you at? I'm in Florida, and
I'm located in Texas.
Okay, so I'm in Florida, you're in Texas, yet over the airwaves as we're speaking to each other, I can feel your positive energy and feel your light, that love light radiating through the airwaves to me. And I was just thinking about that. So just think about if you were in the same room with someone where they could actually, be within a radius of you, that they would be bathed in this positive light energy that you exude. So,
and I never thought that I exuded. I never thought that I exuded that light, though. Well, I really didn't. And it was it was actually someone that I met during a networking event. I was the speaker during that event, and she came up to me afterwards, and total stranger. I simply had said hello during the whole mingling and meeting and passing out business cards. And she came up to me after I finished speaking, and she said, I just need to hug you because I love your light. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I didn't know what that meant. And I'm like, what is she talking about? What light? And it was actually just a couple of months after that, I was attending a church service. And someone that that's dear to me, she said, I don't know what it is, but you are simply radiating. And I'm like, I'm just here. What are you talking about? And I think it goes back to that self-acceptance, because it took me a while to get there. And honestly, if I had to say, when did I find that? Within the last few years. It's not been this lifelong process. And personally, I think it's still evolving.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what it is. But other people see it, and I'm like, okay, well, if I can pass it on to you, I promise you can have some of it. Because I have more than enough, and I'm happy to share whatever it is that you're getting from me. I'm happy to share it with you so that you can have it too.
Well, like I said, it is an energy. It's a light, positive love energy. It's that energy, the higher power love energy is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes through, sight unseen. I mean, we've never met, but yet as you were talking, I could feel it coming through as just this real positive light energy. And with that, I would actually like it if you could share a short meditation, a prayer, or an affirmation with our audience so that we can just have a nice little quiet time with you. Would you like to do that?
Absolutely. When I think, as I was prepping for today and thinking about, people that I'm constantly meeting and building those relationships and making sure that I'm doing the things that I need to do. One thing in my prayer meditation time that I said was, and I hope that your listeners will be able to understand where it's coming from, is that I told my Heavenly Father, I promise that I will take heed to your word. I will rest my whole body so that I may be energized and focused and be in service to you and my fellow brothers. Thank you for giving me this body, and I vow to take care of it to the best of my ability, starting today by resting in the comfort of your divine and holy word. And that was just something that came to me and was in my prayer time this morning. As I shared with you, I was dealing with some medical things earlier today and was just spending time in prayer before we went in to do those things, and just thanking him for the body that I've been given, and to make sure that I would take the time out of every day to thank him for the activity of my limbs and my body and sound mind, although some may question that sometimes, and so do I. But to thank that higher power, to thank God for who I am in this body, and to use this body to be in service, to be a blessing, to allow his light to shine wherever he blesses me to go. And I hope for you and all of your listeners that something you and I have shared today will allow them to be able to do the same.
That was absolutely a beautiful sentiment, and I know that the listeners really appreciate that. And when I think about that, sometimes, we think about, well, how many people were touched? And then you have to realize it doesn't matter how many, as long as there was one person.
As long as there was one, yes.
And
if I can touch one, if we can touch one, we've made a difference.
Exactly.
Because that one will go on, hopefully, and touch another. And we'll start this cascade of people willing to touch the next person to make that change.
Yeah, that was just beautiful. So, Francia, tell me where we can find out more information about you, and where can people find your book?
Absolutely. Certainly, I'm on social media. You can find me on Facebook under Francia Noble, or the Noble Group is my business page. I'm on Twitter at Noble Life Men, NOBLELIFEMIN. And certainly you can buy paperback or the Kindle version of the book Doing Business God's Way, 30 Devotions for the Entrepreneur on Amazon.com.
Perfect. So again, Francia Noble, I just want to thank you for sharing your beautiful white healing light with us today, because it is radiating out across the airwaves and touching many, many people. So I just want you to know that. And I really appreciate the time you took to talk to me today. Thank you.
Well, Tammy, again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of your show. It has been a pleasure speaking with you, and I know that we will keep in touch and continue to inspire the masses, hopefully. So thank you. The pleasure was definitely all mine.
This is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.